Hey YouTube, welcome to Andy Animator. This is my review, recap, and theories video for season 2 finale. Did you guys see it? It was so good. It was so good, you guys. Okay, so there's lots to talk about because this plot is heavy. Okay, alright. Okay, so the episode starts at the house and everybody's just kind of freaking out. Nobody knows where Annalise is, right? And so for the kids, as far as they know, I'm talking about the Keating Five and Bonnie and Frank and everybody. Annalise probably dead because they think Caleb is still missing and Philip is the one who's doing all this. But this is when we start to get hints of like another story because Frank doesn't seem to be as concerned that much about what's happening in the present because he's still thinking about the past. Okay, so this is when we go back to the past again and we see that the woman that Frank hooked up with. Well, we thought he had hooked up with her, but he didn't actually. It turns out she is working for Mahoney. So essentially, when Frank makes a deal with her, we don't know what the deal is at this point. We just know that he is probably working with Mahoney. Okay, so then we move on to where the other storyline was taking place, which was in Memphis. We see Annalise is back home with her mother. We meet her sister, Celeste, something. I could just not hear the pronunciation of that woman's name. Suppose I could have looked it up, but yeah, whatever. Annalise's family. She has a whole Western bunch. Shady uncle. We all have one of those in our families. We have the devoted sister, the grandmothers, the kids, the everything. It's a whole beautiful shebang thing. Probably something happening with Annalise's dad. There's a little bit of tension there. They don't talk. In any other show, I just probably think it might just be some simple family drama. But in this show, just best believe there's some kind of dead body involved in that storyline. Moving on to the next scene. Back to the house. And so now we have Wes kind of catching up Laurel on everything that's happened. Laurel pretty much tells Frank that Mahoney is the father of Wes. Frank kind of reacting kind of strangely to this. I'm not really sure what that reaction was about. Get a sense that, he's still thinking a lot about what happened in the past. So we get another flashback, that same scene that we saw where Annalise plays it thick on Frank. Poor Frank. Annalise, she's always abusing her workers. Like, what is that about? That was kind of like a breaking point for Frank, which is that Annalise pretty much says all this horrible stuff to him. And he decides in that moment to betray her, right? I think he clearly, we know he just probably wanted her to lose her case or something. And he probably wanted the money. So Frank goes back to the lady. She pretty much wanted him to put a listening device in the hotel room, which she does. Moving on to the next scene. So they pretty much shows up at Annalise's house and her mom and her sister. And personally myself just drooling. Family brunch. Nate kind of introduces himself to the family. We see more tension here between Annalise and her father. We cut back to the house. Some Michaela Asher bullshit. Whatever. Okay, they almost hook up. Thank God they don't. And so this is when we actually realize for the first time that there is a warrant out for Annalise. Except they don't know what's actually written on the warrant. So we go back to Tennessee. So at this point, Nate had actually left. Annalise, she pretty much tells her mother that she lost the baby. Wow, this part of the storyline was pretty dense. We have, I think there were a lot of themes about like regret. Annalise's mama pretty much mentions, the shadow. She talks about the baby's shadow and how the baby's shadow is following her. But I think the element of the shadow is actually a major theme throughout the show and actually is a big part to actually defining all these individual characters. So you have Annalise, who is the quintessential sort of very self-destructive character. And she has this dark shadow which pretty much follows her. And any character who interacts with her, unfortunately, kind of gets sucked into this kind of darkness. And I think it's pretty interesting. On one hand, you could just say these characters are amoral and they were just sort of bred that way. But I think it's very interesting that the show certainly tries to show reasons why the characters are the way they are. And so far, I really feel like with this baby storyline, we've definitely seen why Annalise is the way she is, why Annalise, Bonnie, and Frank are the way they are, how they came to be in between the last 10 years. Now we look back in the 10 years, and we also realized that, well, Annalise wasn't exactly perfect then either. So obviously there is another backstory to why she even became the person she was 10 years ago before her baby died. So I think this is all very fascinating. I love how the show just kind of really adds all this extra stuff. I really thought Annalise's performance in that breaking down scene was just Annalise's performance. Viola Davis's performance was just really amazing. I really think she's gonna. I hope she gets nominated for another Emmy because I think she certainly deserves it. Moving on to the next scene. Okay, so we're now back at the house and we're just getting more flashbacks about what Frank did. This is the moment pretty much when Annalise tells Eve that she's going to the FBI and just confessing everything. So we see the woman listening to it, and who does she call? She calls Mahoney. I was right because I said it. If you guys watched my last video, I actually did say that I kind of called that Mr. Mahoney had killed Annalise's baby. So she calls Mahoney. Mahoney tells her, fix it, pretty much. And then instantly we go back to the shot where Annalise gets into the accident, and it all starts to just make sense now. And so things in Tennessee finally start to wind down as Annalise turns on her phone and finally kind of catches up with what's happening in the present. So she kind of finds out that like there's a warrant out for her arrest, and she finds out there's an informant, and the informant is Caleb. You can tell they're kind of wrapping up the final showdown. Annalise meets the DA, and he pretty much tells her what the arrest warrant is about. I actually cannot remember. This is when we find out that Annalise had armed herself because remember she had actually called Nate before. So we knew she probably would have a plan in action. So we finally found out, like I predicted, that Caleb killed the parents. Caleb killed the aunt. Unfortunately for him, so he was wearing a fitness tracker. While that thing is monitoring your body and all that important stuff, it's also some kind of GPS locator apparently. She also has testimony. She also has Catherine on her side at this point. And Philip. I thought they had a conversation there. They probably made a deal, which they did. Catherine is going to testify that she was indeed having relations with her brother. And so she knows that he was missing the night that their parents were killed because she went to his room looking for him. Okay, how does it make sense that she was essentially in the house when her parents were tortured and shot to death? I don't know. That makes no sense. How can all that stuff be happening in one house and you hear nothing? Okay. Moving on. In a final game-winning chess move, so she offers the DA pretty much Caleb in exchange for him not coming after her. Past that point, everybody kind of finds out. It's like, at this point, you know, with all the stuff that happens in this show, yeah, you almost have to wonder, damn it. Okay. The episode starts to wrap up, right? And so we see everybody kind of going back to their lives. And at this point, Oliver officially joins the team pretty much and becomes a bad character. So that's actually going to be cool to see evil Oliver in the next season. That's going to be fun. Go back to the house for the epic final reveal, right? So Annalise arrives home after all the kids have been kicked out, which, thank God, I just did not want to see her abuse those poor kids. Bonnie comes up to Annalise's and she just goes for it, right? And pretty much we get the sense that everybody knows now. But what do they know? What do they know? Okay, so we flash back to the hospital. Frank arrives feeling super, super guilty. And then he pretty much confesses to Sam that he was connected to this whole thing. And then Sam pretty much forces Frank not to tell Annalise by guilting him. And this is such a strange moment because we see again this other really dark side to Sam. He blackmails him and pretty much tells him, you owe me now. It all finally connects, and then we realize, okay, so yeah, that is what Sam had on Frank. And that was enough for him to blackmail Frank into killing Lila. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. It's such a revelations kind of moment. Annalise and Bonnie are equally just devastated. You know, they both really love this guy, but yeah, they didn't know him at all. Nobody really knew him. Okay, so at this point, Annalise pretty much fires Frank. And it's this big epic moment. I mean, I actually almost wonder if the actor is probably not coming back to the show. I mean, I think that would actually be very interesting because, I mean, they made it so dramatic. They have to follow through with that. The last scene of the show, and this is Wes in New York. And so, when I saw this, I just knew this was going to end badly. I just knew it would be a bad idea because one of them would end up dead because that's what Wes is like. He just draws all this death to him. So I think all this was about giving us hints to what might probably be happening in the next season. And these hints were in the conversation, because I was actually paying attention to the conversation that Mahoney was having with the person that he was talking to over the phone. And so he says, and I quote, "I want to be there, but tell me how to explain that to anyone. No, the minute I show up, the gossip starts, and this, what we've been doing, that's all anyone will talk about." So, yeah, what were you doing, Mr. Mahoney? I have a theory that the person he was talking to was Laurel's father. Laurel had a conversation with Frank where she says that Wes and I had the same type of fathers. Throughout the show, they've just been sprinkling stuff in about like Laurel's dad, he's such a bad man. I remember Annalise even when she was trying to convince Laurel to shoot her, she kept telling her, you're strong because you survived all those things with your dad. Well, I think we're finally going to find out what are those things. And I really do think there's a connection there between Mahoney and Laurel's dad. I have no idea who could have shot him. I actually think it's probably going to be a character that we're going to be introduced to in the next season. Oh my god, it is going to suck. Between now and October, I just hope season 3 does not come back in November or early November or something crazy like that. Unanswered storylines. Who killed Ash's dad? Final unanswered questions. Okay, so I am still confused, strange enough. I mean, I suppose I should let it go, but who was sending them the blackmail tapes? Because the thing is, no, Caleb didn't do that because he was in the case. I mean, unless he was working with a partner. I mean, are they actually trying to say Philip was the one who was recording them? They made it seem like Philip was only interested in proving his innocence. So, I mean, yeah, he could be recording them. Why would he blackmail them for money? That's what I don't get. I mean, he could have blackmailed them to exonerate himself, but no, he was blackmailing them for money. So I'm not sure again. I mean, the only thing that makes sense at this point, like I said, was it would be Caleb. The only person that makes sense is Caleb. Caleb had to have been the one recording them, but then he was in one of the videos, so Caleb needed to be working with a partner. I had said in my last video that I was sure that the partner was Eggs 911. Yeah, watch that video. I had a whole theory that, it just didn't pan out. See, I don't know what's going to happen with this show. I'm just super crazy excited and I cannot wait.